be team-centered, others-focused. When you're able to be team-centered and realizing, hey, let's come together as a group of like-minded individuals and be able to do this all together, that allows you to be able to build strong relationships that you can accomplish so many things that you never thought you would.
What's up, beautiful people? Welcome to the Dear Young Athlete podcast, where we talk to coaches and athletes about their journeys and what advice they would have for their younger selves. I'm your host, Jacob Thompson. I'm a speaker, author, and aspiring Paralympian. I've had the privilege and the opportunity to interview over 25 high-level leaders that share their stories and their insights on leadership and how to be successful. We have another great episode coming right up, so let's get into it. What's up, beautiful people? Today I'm joined by a very special guest, the man I get to speak with today. He was a collegiate baseball player. He's currently a high school head coach and an educator. He's won many awards, including Player of the Year in college. I'm excited to hear about that in his conference, of course, Player of the Year. And above baseball, he is a husband, a father, most of all, a man of God. I cannot wait to hear his story. Without further ado, Andy Peterson, aka Peavy, what's happening?
Dude, JT, how you doing, bud?
Man, happy to be here.
So super pumped to be able to join you and be able to do this. Can't wait for it.
Yes. Well, let's jump in. You're a high school head coach. You played in college. Where did it all begin for you? How did you fall in love with playing sports?
Yeah, honestly, it kind of goes back to just my childhood with being able to be playing outside with my dad just constantly. I grew up in Robbinsdale and then ended up moving out late elementary out to Rogers. And my dad just had a huge passion to just be able to be a family guy and around that. He's like, any chance we had to be able to go outside, be able to throw the ball around, be able to, we had a pond. So we made a huge kind of like rink, kind of like leveled it up each and every year to be able to do pond hockey and just like late night skates. He was always willing to kind of like push me to be able to kind of go further. And that was one of the big encouragement is where I fell in love with sports was, yes, my dad was there to be able to kind of like push me and like kind of like lead me, but it was also like very much like driven by myself. He was a huge advocate when it came to, I'm going to be your biggest supporter, your biggest fan, but I'm going to let you take the reins of it. And I'm going to kind of match that energy level, which has been something really cool for me to be able to kind of like start transferring into my own kind of dad life. As I've got 3 boys, a 6-year-old, 4-year-old, and then a 3-month-old, as we're starting to kind of hit that next phase. And so, yeah, that's kind of where it all started. And then it just kind of bloomed into baseball, and hockey became kind of my huge passions as I started playing that from youth all the way up through high school and then even college.
Man, I love that. Just your dad getting you into it and not overly pressuring you, but also helping you find your own passion. I also have 3 boys, so it's cool to kind of hear that. And I'm always bringing them to baseball games, hockey games, football games, but hopefully letting them find the love on their own too. So take us into high school, baseball, hockey. What did that look like, and how'd you kind of end up thinking about where to play in college?
Yeah, so for me, growing up throughout, baseball always came super natural to me. Was always kind of playing on the higher end of travel teams. And like, obviously, like I worked super hard, but for me, hockey was a lot, in a sense, was one of my bigger passions at that time that I actually had to work a lot harder in because it didn't come as natural. And so a lot of my training kind of came out of hockey, that hard work, dedication, to really kind of be down to the nitty gritty, but then just using that mentality that, like, even though a lot of my off season training was hockey focused, realizing that there's so many different things that not only from, hockey to baseball are very drastic sports, but like the mindset, the mental side of the games. And when you start doing that with sport to sport, you can really start kind of giving yourself a competitive advantage of like getting mental reps in that I'm like, hey, even though I'm training for hockey, in the back of my mind, how could this potentially help me with baseball? And so honestly, that kind of kickstarted as a freshman for me. I was on the ninth grade freshman team for Rogers for baseball and was doing really well. And actually, the head varsity coach pulled me in as a freshman and he says, hey, I've been super impressed with just how you've been playing. And I was just thanked him. And I was kind of thinking this conversation was going to be going, hey, we're going to try to maybe give you a chance to throw a JV game. And the next thing he says is, hey, the varsity team has a tournament up in St. Cloud. We want you to be able to start one of those games for varsity as a freshman. And I'm like, whoa, like I'd be honored. And that kind of like really started kind of like for high school, letting me kind of see that next level that I knew would potentially be there. And that just kind of kicked start my high school career where as a sophomore, I was able to go ahead and make the varsity team. And I had a really cool opportunity. Our high school ended up going down to Florida and only took the juniors and the seniors, but the coach was able to actually open that opportunity and offer to me as a sophomore. And we went down to Disney, played at like the Disney complex. And it was just such a cool opportunity to be able to kind of say, hey, as a sophomore, like I'm coaches are noticing my hard work ethic and being able to start kind of being a part of the guys down in Florida, which was a really cool opportunity. And that just kind of kickstart a lot of good, powerful memories for me that kind of led into the rest of my high school career. And so that led, yeah.
Well, I love that, I'm a big advocate of multiple sports. And even if you're training for hockey, when you're building your athleticism, you're also learning the training process just to get better at something, which can obviously help in other sports, but also just life. Like, hey, I have to learn how to do this job, how to be a husband, be a father. It's like learning how to train and learn is so valuable. So then kind of my piggyback question, we'll get into more about coaching later, but how does your experience then influence the way you think about multi sports, especially in the current day and age where it's like you can do baseball all year? And then two, does that influence the way you think about giving younger guys a shot, do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I'm a huge advocate when it comes to multi-sport athletes, and that's where, like you kind of mentioned, that's a huge avenue that I had with hockey and baseball. That our bodies need that rest. That it's one of the things like I really speak into my players. That some are multi-sport athletes, they're 2-3 sport athletes. There are other some of my guys that are just strictly baseball. But being able to kind of really teach into them and trying to get them to kind of think and process, hey, what are you doing to make sure that you are healing that body, being able to kind of separate yourself from that sport? Because at the end of the day, when we kind of look at it, my hope, I'm sure there's people out there that may not say that this is for certain, But I would hope, 90+% of people, they're getting into that sport. The reason they initially started is because they just have such a love for the game, and they start being able to go out there. They're having fun with their friends, their peers. They're going out and just kind of starting to just work as best they can. And for me, being able to be a multi-sport athlete, it kind of kept that excitement always going on and saying, hey, these months I'm focused on this sport, knowing in the back of my mind, hey, these other things I can get positively from it. But then it would transition to the next sport and be like, hey, now I'm focused here. And it just really opens up the importance of being able to be a team player that understands my role on what's going on. That, hey, in high school, I was a third baseman, a first baseman, and a pitcher. Those are kind of my three things. However, if I understand what the shortstop, second baseman, catcher, all the outfield positions, if I'm understanding what all of them are doing, that in turn helps me become a better player and helps get my teammates to become better as well. And that's something that, like, as a coach, should really try to be able to be like that others focused, to try to be able to say, hey, in this moment, let's focus in on this. And that kind of deals with some of those multi-sports athletes. Let's go out and support our teammates. That's one of the big things, being in the Mounds View community. I coach at Irondale High School. I teach at Edgewood Middle School, which is like the 100% feeder into Irondale. Our home church is right in the Mounds View community. We live in the Mounds View district. And our kids, like our oldest, he's already going to kindergarten right now in the district. And it's really fun on a random Tuesday night or a Friday night in the fall or the winter. We're saying, hey, we're going to go out to the football game and we're going to go watch these players of mine for baseball, and trying to like really connect with our community there, going out to basketball, going out to wrestling, hockey games, and just really kind of bringing forth this community to be able to be like, hey, I'm here to support you, and I'm here for us to be able to kind of become one unit, which has just been really awesome to see.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. So playing, 4 years, 3 years, and some change of varsity baseball, how do you end up choosing where you want to play in college?
Yeah. So that was a big kind of thing for me, as honestly, there were some opportunities for me to be able to play at higher levels of baseball. I think that's one of the beautiful things for baseball. I mean, I'm biased as a baseball player, but I feel like when you talk about Division I baseball to Division III baseball, there's the gap between top end players, like within both, is kind of like tomato. Like there's really good players throughout, and just being able to have an opportunity to play college baseball was a huge passion of mine. And so for me, I actually only applied to one school, and that was the University of Northwestern in St. Paul. So I just have a sister. She's 4 years older than me. And so she went to the University of Northwestern to become a teacher. And I had a huge passion, even honestly, probably like in elementary school. My mom, she was the nursery director at our church growing up. She was an assistant preschool teacher. We would help like in the nurseries. I would end up like kind of my first job was being able to kind of babysit and trying to help coach at different like levels. And that's where I really started to kind of see, hey, I have this passion to become a teacher. And being in the public school system from fourth grade all the way up through senior year, my heart was really going after the public school system and just really being able to be a huge part of it. And I started seeing how much my sister got so much out of her teaching career, or her education to become a teacher at Northwestern, is really being biblically focused on how are we able to have a Christ-centered impact within all that we do, and how can we be able to take that belief out into our workforce. And so that's where I just saw the joy that my sister was having. And so, I mean, we matched up. I was a freshman when she was a freshman. And so as I'm kind of moving through up to that sophomore, junior level, junior years, I was starting to kind of like get a couple letters here or there from some low end D1, some D2 schools. But like in my head, I'm like, you know what? Like my goal, I plastered this actually on a piece of paper that I'm like, I want to be able to play in the Northwoods League. The Northwoods League's a collegiate, high end collegiate level for summer baseball. And I'm like, I know it's a lot of usually higher D1 players. However, D2 and D3 players can play in that summer league. That I'm like, that's my goal, is I want to try to play in the Northwoods League someday. And so that was kind of like my big thing of like, I had it posted right by my bed. So I would see it every single day that I was really trying to work towards. And that kind of like really solidified that I'm like, I only want to apply to Northwestern. I see that I want to become a teacher one day. God was really able to kind of like put on my heart that at the end of the day, he's giving me some pretty good talents as a baseball player. But I know that my career is going to end at some point, whether it's after high school, whether it's after college. If I get an opportunity to play low end professional baseball or even further, at some point it's going to end, and I want to be able to have that education that's going to help propel me kind of throughout. And so that just kind of led me to Northwestern. I knew I'd be able to have a great education, becoming a teacher one day. And it's a very real conversation that I've been having with even some of my players over the last few years, that you got to be able to kind of look at your college careers. You could go into like the grind. I know I could have gone into the grind. I wasn't going to be best Division I player on a team, but I'd be grinding my tail off just to try to make a roster spot day in and day out. Or if I go a D3 route, I know I could be playing day one, making a big impact from day one, and going to the school that really God put on my heart. And that's the avenue that I ended up choosing, that I know for me was best for me. And it was a really cool thing to be able to experience.
Yeah, like something I really think is gold in your story is I don't think like teens need to know exactly what they want to do. You kind of did, which is awesome. But I think having a vision of like what you want to become and who you want to become is so important, because you have a daily focus, and like you knew, I want to be a teacher, I want to play at Northwoods. Like that's gonna keep you focused and going in the right direction. Now, I'm sure obviously you made mistakes and didn't do it perfectly, but
100%.
it's like that would be my encouragement to any teenager, is like think about what goals do you have, where do you want to be in 5 years. Maybe you don't know your exact career path, but you start pursuing something instead of just wasting all your time on your phone and watching Netflix. It's like
Yeah.
go pursue something. And even if you end up going a different direction, that journey and process is going to build you up. And so I guess kind of in that vein, what do you have players who have gone on to play in college, current players you think maybe could play in college, and what kind of wisdom are you giving them? Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying the episode, I want to ask you to go on whatever platform you're on and follow and subscribe. Give us a rating and review us, and help this podcast reach more people. You can head to the website 1020words.com/DYA. That's TEN20words.com/DYA to learn more about us, check out our merchandise, or figure out how you can have me come speak to your team or program, or potentially be a guest on the podcast. I look forward to connecting with you. Let's get back into the episode.
Yeah. So I've been a part of Irondale baseball for the last 12 years, and I was an assistant coach, whether it started off like assistant B squad coach, over a couple of years transitioning into assistant varsity coach and the pitching coach over the program. Then I got an opportunity. I was the head JV coach, so I just kind of took over the JV team for a year. And then that kind of led me into, this is my second year as taking over the program. And so throughout our time like that I've been there, we definitely have had a handful of guys being able to make it to that next level. We had one guy kind of in his journey being able to, with St. Thomas, making that transition into Division III to Division I, and he had an opportunity to play for St. Thomas there for a little bit. Then multiple guys kind of throughout the last few years. Last year we graduated 5 different guys that ended up pursuing college at the Division III level last year, which has been just such a great journey for them. And so one of the big things that I've told those players, along with a few guys that are kind of coming on up, that we have one guy for sure going into next year to be playing college baseball at River Falls, and then some aspiring guys coming up as well that they're really trying to work hard. And one thing that I kind of speak into them is really at the core, you kind of mentioned it right there, is it's okay to not know your plan right away, but be able to be confident with your decision. There is so many different schools that are kind of pulling at each player that you need to kind of look at it from a holistic perspective. That one thing I kind of talk on, and I mentioned quite a bit with my players, is if today was your last day ever playing baseball, would you be happy with every single effort that you gave today? Because tomorrow's not guaranteed. All of a sudden, what could happen is you could go ahead and pull something, tear something, and your career might be done. And at the end of the day, when you're looking at that school, when you're looking at that team, when you're looking at that brotherhood, what type of atmosphere do you want to go ahead and be with? I encourage you, hey, go do a tour, have an overnight there, go to a practice. Don't tell the coach and the players that you're coming to a game. Actually, go and say, hey, these are schools I'm interested in. Let's just watch from a side and be like, hey, what type of players are they? Do you like what the coach is saying? Do you like how the coaches are acting? Do you like how the players are acting? Do they seem connected? Do they seem like they're pulling each other apart? You can do a lot by just observing. And that is something that I really want to try to continue to invest into my players, not only that are trying to play at that college level, but players that their baseball careers are done, that they know that they have someone that has always got their backs, that they know that they have someone that's going to be continuing to care for them, and go look at that next step, whether it's college, whether it's trade school, whether it's getting right into the workforce. Really be selective on really trying to look at, hey, this is what I want. This is what I'm passionate about right now. It doesn't have to stay like that forever. Like you mentioned, I had a pretty unique, I knew from very early on what I kind of wanted to do throughout my life. That's pretty unique. It's okay to strive for one thing and change it as it kind of goes to the next phase. But look at it from that holistic perspective. What is one of my goals that I'm trying to pursue? And be able to be confident with that decision.
Yeah, that's good model. So take us into your world a bit of playing college baseball. Obviously, you had a ton of success being conference player of the year, I believe you said. Correct me though if I'm wrong, but you had a lot of success. So what was it that led to, that success for you, habits, routines, lifestyle, and then also what made you kind of know you wanted to get into coaching even throughout college?
Yeah. So honestly, it's kind of crazy. I got put in like for me at Northwestern. I didn't know my roommates. I just said, "Hey, I'll put me with whoever," because I don't know anyone that's going to Northwestern. And so with that, literally within the first like 2 days of me being moving into a freshman year, I met someone in my hall that was three doors down from me, and we were like, "Oh, you're playing baseball for the, you're playing on the Northwestern baseball team. So am I." And he's like, "You're a pitcher. I'm a pitcher." And we're like, "Hey, we're going to be throwing buddies from day one." And like, it's crazy that like that small interaction because they're just trying to build connections. Lo and behold, that's the same guy that ended up being my best man in my wedding, and that relationship, like literally randomly being in the same hallway, not ever seeing each other ever play, and we're like, "Hey, let's be throwing buddies day one." And that literally sparked a friendship relationship that he's still one of my best friends to this day, that it was an honor to be able to have him by my side. And that's the type of connections that I started building right away at Northwestern, is just this camaraderie that's just going to be pushing ourselves to be the best we could be. Freshman year, I came in as just a pitcher only, even though um, I could play multiple positions, and I did play them well in high school. I'm like, pitching is definitely my favorite thing that I like to do. So I'm just going to focus in on pitching. Just let's do that. And starting freshman year, I actually got the opportunity that I became a weekend starter. So like I was in the top three rotation from our team from day one. And it was very obvious to me, and like talking with the coaching staff, they're like, "Hey, we're going to ride you as a weekend starter. You're not going to be doing any type of relief during our non-conference games during the week. We just want you to focus in on our conference games that really matter on the weekends. That's your role." And I'm like, "Great, this is awesome. I love this." And freshman year, I was able to have a lot of success doing that role. But as I just kind of continued watching, I'm like, I really think I could make an impact playing in the field as well. Because I'm like, once again, I didn't take a lot of batting practice. I wasn't taking ground ball reps that year, but mentally I was staying sharp. I'm like, I honestly think I could be competing for a starting position, not only just pitching. And so that kind of led to me having some conversations there with the coaching staff and with our head coach, Dave Heeb. And we were like, "You know what? Let's, over that offseason between freshman and sophomore year, let's see if we can go ahead and do you two-way." And came fall ball that sophomore year, I was able to put in a lot of the hard work. And when it came to springtime from sophomore year through my junior year, I was one of the, based on who was pitching and just different situation, I found myself in the starting rotation on a daily basis as a first baseman, still that weekend starter. And we found a lot of success. So our Northwestern team played in the UMAC, and my freshman year ended up making it to the UMAC playoffs and made it to the championship series. Ended up losing to St. Scholastica. Sophomore year, kind of same story, and it kind of builds off every single year through my senior year. I'll get there in a second, but we have this opportunity. Hey, we made it to the playoffs last year. Let's get to that championship. Let's do these things, and ended up having a lot of success. Sadly, though, my sophomore year, some crazy things happened with injuries. My best man in my wedding that I talked to you about, he ended up actually breaking part of his back just in a weird freak accident that he ended up not being able to pitch anymore and kind of had to go through a lot of physical therapy there. I ended up straining my arm super bad pitching up in Northland on a 30-degree day, ended up going 9 innings, and that ninth inning, there went the elbow. And I'm like, holy cow, we're 1 week from conference playoffs, and our two top pitchers just went down in the last week. What's going to happen? And it really was hard watching from the bench that last 2 weeks going into playoffs, but to see the camaraderie and the grit that we were able to make it to that championship game again versus in playoffs, even without our top two starters. And we sometimes reminisce. It's like, hey, what if we would have been healthy? Would that have been the year? Like, but honestly, at the end of the day, what matters is those memories. And St. Scholastic ended up beating us again that sophomore year. So that kick started for me. I wanted something to kind of prove for that junior year. Still hanging right by my it transferred from my bed into my college locker where I posted, hey, I want to still make the Northwoods League. And so I'm like, hey, I got something to prove. Usually this junior year is like a big year for that. And I was able to get healthy, did a lot of physical therapy, and that kind of propelled me into having a super successful junior year. Was once again super blessed just with everything kind of going on with my playing abilities and make the conference tournament again. Sadly, we get to championship for third year in a row. And this is where St. Scholastica for the third year in a row ends our season. And we're just like, gosh, we got to get over this hump. Like, what's going on? But during that summer is when I kind of got the phone call that like my hard work had kind of paid off. And it's kind of one of those things that you never know who's watching you. People notice for good, for bad. And I got the phone call. So for the Bethany Lutheran head coach was able to kind of call me up. Little did I know that he was actually helping coach in the Northwoods League for the Mankato Moondogs. And he's like, hey, I know the type of man that you are. I know the type of work ethic you are. You're a heck of a player. Would you want to be able to come down and play for the Mankato Moondogs on our pitching staff? And for me, that was like my big moment of like that goal that I had. I finally did it. Like I was able to kind of go down there, play with the Mankato Moondogs. And honestly, I didn't play. I didn't play well. It was a lot of one of those things, learning that like in the moment, there's that next level up when it's like, hey, when you're getting to it, what's going to be happening? Are you going to be someone that steps up to the plate in hard times? And even if you go through a challenging time, are you going to be able to learn and grow from it? And honestly, that's where it kind of like led me is I thought I pitched really well, thought I played really well in those moments, but one call here, one missed pitch there, and people are going to go ahead and really like exploit that. And I didn't get too many chances after that, but what that did give me was the confidence to be able to, you know what? I accomplished my goal. I got to the Northwoods League. Like I'm practicing and I'm playing right alongside, and I'm like, my skills are just as good as these guys. What is giving them the competitive advantage that I'm missing? Because I'm like, there's this next level that where is it coming from? And where I finally kind of was able to dissect and talking to players, talking to coaches on that team, I'm like, you know what? It's that self-confidence. I was working on another pitch, my splitter. That was one of the pitches that I started developing in college, but I was still afraid. Like I would have said I'm confident throwing it, but there was like 90% confidence where I'm like, no, I'm 100% confident. I have 4 pitches that are deadly as long as I'm in there. And it dialed in, which I thought I was focused, but I realized there's another level that I'm like, zoom. And that really kickstarted like my senior year to be like, holy cow, this is where God can kind of like go full circle of just like really allowing you to kind of see what you're fully capable of doing. And so that kind of then led to my senior year where I was able to have a heck of a season. It was actually really crazy. Honestly, all I can say is God was fully a part of this story where I was down in Iowa for a series and I went ahead and pitched a complete game the night before, got the W. And then the next morning, when I got out of bed in the hotel room for our second day's worth of games, I actually collapsed to the ground and I couldn't get up. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, so I try to get up and like just shooting pain in my hip. And I'm like, something's going
Mm.
on. And being the senior captain, I have big aspirations for this entire season. Like what's going on? Like we just got back from our Florida trip. The season's just starting. And I'm like, my body's felt great. How am I not able to walk right now? I mean, we're talking from the bus to like the dugouts. It's what, like 100 yards? Like it's not a long walk, but it took me 15 minutes to get there. And I'm like, something's wrong. I end up
Mm.
finding out having to sit out a ton of games and this and that. And I find out I end up getting, I tore my hip labrum. And I'm like, what does this mean? Um, I had everything planned for the senior year where we were going to be having a successful year. We were finally getting over the hump of beating St. Scholastica, all these different types of things that were going on. And I had to come to this decision. I have a torn hip labrum. We're meeting with the doctors, meeting with our coaching staff. There were a lot of things. In the next year at Northwestern, we were opening our brand new facilities, the all turf field, like just gorgeous facilities. So I'm like, do I try to redshirt so I can play next year? Do I just toughen it out and just try to do the best that I can? Because they said it's not going to get worse. It's already torn. You can play through it. It's going to be excruciating. What's going to happen? And honestly, I spent a lot of time in prayer just trying to think through what's going on. And at the end of the day, I'm like, I was in a very serious relationship with my girlfriend at the time. And I'm like, I plan on proposing to her in about 2 weeks, like from that injury. I'm like, I'm ready for that next phase of life with her, that taking that red shirt year, just like an injury or red shirts, to be able to play the following year. Honestly, I think God's got bigger plans for me that I don't understand why this is happening. But what I can do is I'm going to be putting my trust in him and say, you know what? It's going to be excruciating. It's going to be super painful. I thought I was going to be, the starting first baseman or potentially even third baseman, because we ended up getting a really big recruit in that year. Then I'm like, coach, keep him at first base. I'm good enough. I will go to third base for my senior year because I know I'm capable and I'll be able to play there. But that injury is like, that's potentially all gone. And so what ends up happening is I'm able to pitch. It's excruciating, but I gut it out. I'm able to pitch that senior year, and I actually end up getting in the designated hitter, end up being a DH. And it wasn't pretty because I basically was hobbling or walking. I couldn't run, but honestly, this is where I said God just truly did something miraculous that all I can say is through that, I had the best statistical season of my career, pitching wise, hitting wise. And that's where I ended up kind of leading into, I was named the conference player of the year. I was named conference pitcher of the year. And that kind of led to down the road with my success in college. I was able to actually be named like in the all decade team for the conference as well, which is a pretty cool honor. But all I can say is it wasn't me. It was definitely God kind of working in and through, and had a special plan for me, even through that injury, to be able to say, hey, lean on me and I'm going to be able to kind of get you through it.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, there's a lot in there. One thing I love is that you set a goal and then you achieve the goal, which is an awesome feeling. And then you realized that's the beginning of a new journey, not the end of a journey. And I think it's good to have that perspective with goals. Is like we can think, oh, if I reach this goal, it's gonna ultimately satisfy me. And it won't. We kind of all know that from experience. But then when you have the right perspective, reaching a goal feels amazing. And like it's part of the journey, and now gotta keep going and set the next goal. And then just life being bigger than baseball. It's like you came to a point of saying, like, hey, yeah, I could try and squeeze everything out of this and do another year, and there be nothing wrong with that. But we kind of all have to realize, hey, even if you make the MLB, it's gonna end one day, and who are you beyond this thing? This is part of you, and that's good, but it can't be all of you.
Yeah.
You've kind of mentioned, God being with you and, going to church with your family and your community. So I wonder if you can give us kind of highlights of your faith journey and what that means to you. Hey man, cool shirt. Oh, thank you, man. What is that logo? I've never seen it before. Yeah, it's actually based on 1 Timothy 4:8, which says physical training is good, but training in godliness is better, having value in this life and the next. The 8 is like an infinity because when you have a relationship with God, it lasts forever. Oh, you believe in Jesus or what? Yeah, bro, I play the game all for God's glory. He changed my life and I want to do what I can to glorify Him. Is it a brand or whose logo is that? Yeah, it's actually the theme verse for a cool podcast I listen to called Dear Young Athlete. It's a sports leadership podcast. You should check it out. So where can I get one? Yeah, you just go to their website, 1020words.com/DYA. That's TEN20words.com/DYA. If you use the code DYA20 with all caps, you can get 20% off your first order. They have t-shirts, shorts, hoodies, crew necks, you name it. Anything you want. Yeah, man. I guess I would like to learn more. Oh, yeah, man. We got Bible study later with some of the guys. If you want to come check it out. All right, bro. See you later. All right, bro. Peace.
Yeah. So this part gets me excited just to be able to kind of share my faith, honestly, and super blessed to be able to have godly parents in my life that really spoke into me when it comes to God's going to be the center of everything you do. Like you said, there's a lot of good things in this world that pull us in many different directions that I think are very positive things. But at the end of the day, what's going to be giving us that eternal joy that's really able to what truly matters? And so, I accepted Jesus Christ into my life at 4 years old at a Billy Graham crusade. But honestly, when it kind of comes to really seeing where my faith kind of took me, it starts in 8th grade. I had a super tight youth group. We went to New Hope Church, and it was a very unique situation where we just had a ton of different schools kind of all coming together. I was the only one from Rogers, but we had people from Armstrong, Wayzata, Champlin, Cooper. I know I'm missing a ton of others, but we all just kind of came together within that youth group and just really clicked. And that really became kind of my core friend group that we're like, hey, we're going to live on mission and be like-minded and really focus in on hanging out together. But then as we go our separate ways to our schools, how are we able to actually go ahead and impact our middle schools and our high schools and just the kids that we're around on a daily basis? And so for me in 8th grade, like I said, we took this big trip. It was called Nationals or Challenge. We actually went to Purdue. And it was a pretty amazing opportunity where Chris Tomlin, he was able to actually be our worship leader for the entire week down there. And then Francis Chan, he was our lead speaker throughout the entire week. That Chris Tomlin, Francis Chan, those two kind of have had a huge impact just on my growth of really saying and challenging me, hey, at the end of the day, you cannot piggyback off your parents' faith. You cannot piggyback off your siblings' faith. You cannot piggyback off your friends' faith. You really have to be able to make your faith your own and be able to say, hey, at the end of the day, like, I don't deserve it. I'm not good enough. But it's through the grace of God that he is able to truly be able to go ahead and through his sacrifice on the cross to be able to say, hey, he died for me. And being able to pump my eternal faith in him and trust in him, that has just opened up so many avenues for me throughout my entire life. And that's where that ultimate goal can like kind of be focused in on is true joy can be put in Jesus Christ. And I was so blessed to be able to have that in 8th grade. And that kind of led me to have some really core groups of friends. And that's where like I really wanted to kind of get into, honestly, in the Phi-Ed and health world. Because as a teacher, I get to have just a lot of just very intentional conversations that whether people know it or not, like every single person worships something. Every single person at the core, you're either getting closer to something or being pulled away from something. And just being able to try to teach people and saying, hey, what are your values? What are your beliefs? What's your life purpose? Because when you can really try to focus in on those things, that's where you really try to go ahead and start kind of leaning into, hey, are my friend groups, do we have that core unity? You know, my relationships that I am going to be trying to pursuing, the person I want to try to go ahead and be with someday, are we at that core part? And I was very blessed to be able to kind of have that. And that's where, like we kind of mentioned in my story a little bit earlier, 8th grade was a big impactful year. Then seeing my sister kind of go through Northwestern, getting that Christian education on how can you become a teacher to really go into the public school system and be able to be and show Jesus's light and say, hey, my hope and my prayer is that people are able to kind of see the way that I teach and really trying to be others focused, that there's like, hey, there's something different about this guy. I don't know what it is, but there's just something different about him. What's the reason? And that's just been able to have so many different conversations that's what I was hoping I was going to be able to get out of from Northwestern. And I could not be more excited about that. That's exactly what I was able to get out of Northwestern's education, that God just kind of went perfectly into. I student taught at Edgewood Middle School. And then it's like, hey, I'm getting married in December, I graduated in December, getting married in January. I don't have a job, but I don't expect to get a Phi-Ed job midway through the year. On my honeymoon, I get a phone call and they're like, hey, we have a para job open at Edgewood. I know you just finished your student teaching. We'd love to have you. And we're like, perfect. So then I get hired as a para. And then during that spring, they're like, hey, there's a Phi-Ed job opening. You need to apply. And I've been at Edgewood ever since. And so like Edgewood has truly been like my home that God has opened up, that I'm even looking back, like if I would have, in that moment, I really wanted to take the redshirt year and play in the new stadium at Northwestern and like played all these things. But it's like God had something so much bigger for me and had his plan to be like, hey, I want to send you to Moundsview and specifically that Irondale area. And you start just go and make an impact there. And that's been super impactful for me. And that's where once I got tenured, my wife, she actually also is a teacher in the Moundsview district. She's over at Highview Middle School. We're all in. When we start looking for our first house, we want to make sure it's in the Moundsview district. We want to send our kids there. And that's when we're like, hey, we got to make sure we're finding a church in this district, because we're like so 100% all in. And so that's where we were able to find Pursuit Community Church. It's right out of the Moundsview Community Center. And just really being able to find that community to be able to kind of do life with. And that's one of the biggest things where I love about Pursuit Community Church. It just kind of really helps grow me, is the concept of big K kingdom. We're most concerned about you getting to know Jesus Christ. We're big kingdom focused. You come to our church, great. You want to try to go to a different church, we'll point you to that church. There's so many great churches out there. We just want you to be able to get connected, because I think a lot of times in our society today, one of the big reasons why we like being on our phones, playing video games, doing those types of things, is that inherently bad? Absolutely not. However, I feel like sometimes it's like we're yearning for something deeper. We're yearning for that community. We're missing those sports teams we had in high school, and now I'm an adult and I don't have that community, but I yearn for that community. So that's why I start going to maybe this type of gym, because I hope that I'm going to find that community there. But at the core, I think that's really like a huge part that we as a church can kind of come together and say, hey, I make plenty of mistakes every single day, but we're here together and we're going to pour into each other. And that's where it's super fun, where, one of my best friends works in the Mounds View district as well. He's at Mounds View High School. He's a part of our small group. I'm currently, teaching one of, my, someone else in the small group. His son is in my class. Like, there's all these different types of connections that we're in this together in this community that we're able to just kind of dive deeper into, which is really cool.
I love that. So I know we only have a couple minutes left. So there's kind of two ways I like to end, but for you, I'll merge it into one.
Yeah.
The first question is, if there's one life lesson in sports that, is the one that sticks out to you, what would that be? And then I ask all my guests, you're on the Dear Young Athlete podcast. So you have to complete the statement, Dear Young Athlete blank, what would you say to your players, to a younger Andy?
Yeah, I love that. What I would say is, honestly, dear young athlete, be team-centered, others-focused. When you're able to be team-centered and realizing, hey, let's come together as a group of like-minded individuals and be able to do this all together, that allows you to be able to build strong relationships that you can accomplish so many things that you never thought you would. When we're talking about others focused, there's so many times where it's all about me. What can I get out of this sport? What can I do here? But if you start turning around and saying, hey, what can I do for my teammates? What can I do to help get them better? Little things like baseball, where, hey, we need someone to go ahead and do soft toss right now. If I'm able to do my best job to say, hey, I'm going to throw the best strikes there are, because if I do my job, I am actually making my partner better. I'm making my teammate better, that I am giving my best effort in everything that I do, then I'm the first one to be able to step up to that plate and say, hey, I want to be able to go ahead and do this for someone else. And that's where, if you can go ahead and be a servant leader, someone that's willing to kind of do leadership backwards and saying, hey, we don't expect the freshmen to carry the bucket of baseballs. I want my senior captains. They're the ones being able to carry the bucket of baseball from everything we're doing. We are being a servant to those around us to be able to be that light and help others grow. And I think that is something to really be able to cherish, be able to find that group of people with that community to be able to help you be the best person that you can be.
I love it. I love it. Andy, thank you for sharing your story, your heart, your wisdom. Do you have any final words for the people?
Yeah, no, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. Really looking forward to kind of continue this friendship. I know we could talk for hours, I'm sure, but just like even the fact that just the little thing of us being able to see each other at Dads and Lads just that camaraderie, like a couple of weekends ago, just kind of shows like that heart that we have just to be able to kind of continue fostering into our family members, our community, just that next generation. And so I couldn't appreciate you more. So thank you so much for everything.
I love it. Thank you.
Awesome.
That's all. Peace.
Take care.
And there you have it. One more episode in the books. Thank you so much for listening. As a reminder, make sure you subscribe in whatever platform you're on, that you leave a comment and rate and review. And I want to personally thank you for doing that. And I will see you in the next episode. Peace.